Hey, what's up, Devin?
Yo, what's going on, Dave?
Yo, it's good to see you again, bro. It's
Yeah,
been
you
two
can actually
weeks.
see me and see. Look, I told you the hair was gonna be shaped up. Hey, I told you I was gonna get it back.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. I'm glad you got that SEC, bro.
Yeah, got it back. Got it back.
Hey, listen. Hey, show the people the shirt. Show the people the
So, just in case people forgot, we got gear. We got gear.
hashtag love your neighbor, bro.
It ain't changed. It ain't changed. Love your neighbor.
Big facts. Big facts. Hey, before we get into it, bro, let me kick this off right quick with thank you so much. We had a bunch of people subscribe to our YouTube page in the last week. We are really trying to grow our like video content production and output. So between there and IGTV and if you're on Facebook, you'll see the videos as well. But we appreciate everybody that shared, liked, subscribed, everything like that. Like we really appreciate that, man. That's dope. And we want to keep having that engagement because it's fun for us, right? Like I think at the end of the day, it's fun and we like putting out that video content to be able to, make a, bigger splash elsewhere other than just the podcast.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so just keep interacting with us. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then also write a review on our podcast on Apple Music, and then subscribe to us on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcast.
Big facts, big facts. Second thing, this is actually a bonus episode. You're welcome. We're recording two podcasts same day. We're super excited. Just so y'all know, today is Sunday, January 24th. We have literally just witnessed Tom Brady lead the Bucks to the Super Bowl, where they are going to be the first team in NFL history to host a Super Bowl at their own home stadium.
See, this is the thing. I'm 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 not gonna lie to you, Dave. I'm a hater, and I don't like I don't like Tom Brady, and I think like a friend of mine was asking me about this earlier today. He was asking like, well, don't you just like greatness? You know, you got LeBron and Nick Saban and Brady all in the same time period that you get to witness all these people. And I'll be honest with you, I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't. I mean, I was thinking to myself, I guess I don't like greatness because I don't want to see somebody like Tom Brady's like 42 and still dominating people half his age. Like I don't want to see that anymore. And just like the same with LeBron, I don't want to see a 36-year-old still dominate. Like I want to see him start to fall, a little bit. Like he's gotten better somehow, some way. A 36-year-old's gotten better, and Nick Saban he beat COVID twice in 1 year to win a national championship. I just don't understand it. So
Facts.
so yeah, I am a hater, and if you're a fan of any of these people that I just named, listen, I'm sorry. I just came to the reality of it. I'm a hater. I don't like it.
You're a winning hater. Hey, you know what, man? I respect it because I like growing up. Like I remember despising, even though now I'm not as big of a baseball fan, but I remember despising the Yankees, bro. They won every year. I remember despising Duke, like right, like just like right in the late '90s, early 2000s. Like they just won all the time. It felt like.
Yeah.
Uh, so
And
I
I get
definitely,
it.
I
Like
definitely see what
it's
you're
their
saying,
job. It's their job to win games.
and we hate them for it.
I feel like we should play that clip. Like you play to win the game. Like I
Yep.
get that, but I get bored of it. Like
Yep.
I'm a fan. The only team that I like that is the like dominates every year is Ohio State football,
Right.
and everybody hates Ohio State football. I mean, I get it, like for rightful reasons because they've dominated the Big Ten for however long. Everyone else, all the rest of my teams, they're the underdog in every situation.
This is true.
And so when I see a team dominate like that, I want to know how it feels to be a winner for 6 straight years. I just don't. I just want to know. Like Tom Brady is going for his seventh ring, right?
Yeah.
The Browns haven't even been to the Super Bowl 7 times.
No.
Between the Browns, the Indians, and the Cavs, they haven't been to a championship 7 times since
No.
like 1945.
That's crazy to think about. Well, bro, I'm a Bengals fan. We didn't even won a playoff game in 30 years, bro.
Yeah. See,
30 years.
that's
So while we're on the topic of the NFL and we're talking about great quarterbacks, we got to talk a little bit about – what a perfect transition, by the way. We got to talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson. Dude got paid this last year. Big paycheck. Secured the bag. Big paycheck. Bro, tell us what is happening in Houston land with Deshaun Watson right now.
I think people in Houston land know what's going on in Houston land right
They
now.
don't.
They've lost in a period of time. They've lost one of their star baseball players. I don't know his name because I don't care about baseball. They lost James Harden.
Yep.
And now Deshaun Watson is wanting out. So this is interesting. Deshaun Watson, they had a terrible season. They were awful this year.
Fired their head coach like what, 6 games in, something like that?
Yeah. Early in the season, they fired the coach.
Well, before even that, they trade away his best weapon, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, and that was terrible. And I mean, you're seeing the results of it too. And now he's asking for out, and for a bunch of different reasons. Apparently they don't see eye to eye. See, here's the thing. I have some concerns about this. So like apparently I think it's the GM that they have. He used to be the chaplain for the Texans. How do you go from the chaplain to the GM? Anybody who ends up being chaplain to that, like it looks a little shady.
Right.
Like, your job is supposed to be people to have better walk in their faith.
Right.
Then you ended up using that to get to a further position. It's kind of shady to me. But then, I mean, the NFL has all their issues this year, and they've had a long history with race and Colin Kaepernick stuff was happening. Then you hear like now Deshaun Watson wants to leave because he doesn't think the organization is doing enough. So it's a big story, Dave.
Right. Well, I thought they were hiring for their GM position a couple of weeks ago or something. And what I heard, and y'all can fact check me, I'm totally willing to be wrong. But from what I heard is that the Houston Texans paid a firm like a bunch of money to come in and help them hire, like help them narrow down the selections and make a good decision. Yeah. So the firm, I guess they said, okay, here's our top dog. And apparently, from what I had heard, Watson had that guy and other person or two in that conversation. Like, hey, if I have a say, here's who I think we should target.
Yes, and that's what happened because it was whoever was, president or whatever the organization. He had his guy in mind, but the search firm didn't pick his guy. Correct. And so now if anybody works in any kind of business or if you have a job, a 9 to 5, you know what's about to happen here. It's like. You put in the application, all right? You may be better qualified, but
you ain't getting that job.
You ain't getting that. Listen, if it's already, that's why the question is, so they already got somebody?
Yeah.
They already got somebody? And see, I think Deshaun Watson wasn't in on the whole thing.
No, not at all. And so
that can rub some people wrong as that's your franchise player.
Yeah. When you say, okay, well, we're going to trade away this wide receiver and we're going to give you the bag and we're going to give you the keys to the car, but we control the car. It's our car. It's our keys. And you might be driving, but at the end of the day, here's a reminder. That's still our car. We pay for the insurance. We bought the car. We got the loan. You know what I'm saying? The Texans were like, yo, don't play with us, right? But so the Texans did not go with the firm's pick, and they did not go with anybody that Deshaun Watson had recommended. And they did not bring Deshaun Watson into the room, into the discussion when they were making that decision. Reminds me of Hamilton. Nobody else was in the room where it happened.
If you the franchise player, it's disrespectful. He took so it's like Michael Jordan. I took it as disrespect. And so his thing is, I'm packing my bags. I'm ready to leave. Now, flip side of this, he's been in Texas for 10 years now. They've made the playoffs 6 of the last 10 years, and then he's won 4 to 6 games he's been in the playoffs. So he's huge. He's very successful in the NFL.
I think he's been there for 5 or 6 years at this point, because last year he had just gotten out of his rookie contract. So I think he's been there for 4 or 5 years, something like that.
So he's been to the playoffs. He's won 4 games.
Yeah, he's won several games in the playoffs.
You just said as a Bengals fan, y'all ain't won in 30 years. You would
30
kill to
years.
have that. You would kill to have that.
Facts.
And now he wants to walk.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on there, and so that's a big story here that's still developing and fleshing out. But I think part of the big thing is they did all the stuff in the beginning, the kneeling, the staying in the locker room for the anthem, the national anthem, and finally, when you think like he's starting to get some respect and starting to get saying things, they take it away from him.
Right. And this is such a unique topic because it's feeding right into kind of the second thing that we want to flesh out and pull apart here. And that's the Rooney Rule. And the last thing I want to say on Deshaun Watson, and I think that this is really important, is that from what I'm reading as of like today, like the last couple hours, is that Deshaun Watson, the Texans are like, yo, we'll hire your coach. Like, tell us what coach you want. And they're trying to save face. And so they brought up Eric Bieniemy, who is the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, who, in my opinion, the fact that this man does not have a job yet is the most mind-blowing thing in the world to me. He's hands down the best available coordinator. And look what he's done in Kansas City with what they've had. I mean, obviously they've had a great team, but he's helped coordinate that. Like, right, it's in his job title. But like, you can have that in Houston if you get the right pieces around Deshaun Watson. He's so talented. And so they're like, hey, come back to us. It's like you're in that relationship and they're like, baby, I'll buy you a ring, But it's like the ring don't matter.
Doggone well they ain't buying you. You ain't getting no. You may get a ring pop. You ain't getting no ring. You ain't getting the ring.
So
go ahead. Talk about the Rooney Rule real quick.
So the Rooney Rule, it was established in 2003 by the owner of the Steelers, and basically the rule is that when the NFL teams are hiring a head coach or somebody that's going to be an executive, they have to interview at least one minority person for the job. And so, I mean, we've heard it throughout the years. You hear good and bad. The question is always, is it helping? And Devin, is it helping? Can you talk about the landscape of NFL coaches?
I think I read an article that said that there was only 4 organizations have had either a black head coach or a black GM since the Rooney Rule has started. And so it is not worked. And when the league's 70% or more black right now, and so you don't get these people in head coaching positions. So what it does essentially is just waste a lot of people's time.
Right.
And because just like how we mentioned, most times when someone gets fired, there's already somebody's already got somebody in their back pocket, like, oh, right, I want to hire this guy. Unfortunately, it really hasn't been African American and Hispanic people.
Right.
Not saying that they're not capable. I mean, we just watched a game, or we're watching games this weekend where majority of the staffs of some of these people, the coordinators, are black coaches. So
four coordinators today. Each of the 4 teams have a coordinator that's black.
Yeah. So it's not like they're not capable of doing it. It's just that people are just getting passed up for different jobs.
And there's how many left in the league, right? Just 2 black coaches, head coaches, right?
Black coaches. We started off with 4 this year, and now we're down to 2. And so it used to be a big thing, like having a black quarterback. I think we're moving past that a little bit. Right. We have more black quarterbacks. That stigma's gone. I think the next thing now is going to be head coaches, and then we'll eventually get into the GM's positions. But yeah, the Rooney Rule is not working. It tokenizes a lot of people, and I think
that's exactly what I was going to call it. It's a token.
Yeah, and I think they need to find a different way to do this. So, like, what I propose is not like, so I've seen one of the proposals that they get a higher draft pick if they hire somebody who's black.
Yeah, I think the way I read it last year, the proposal was like, if you hire a black head coach or GM, you move up 6 spots in the 2nd or 3rd round. Mm-hmm. If they last until the next year, you do it again. And if they last into the 3rd year or something like that, it's even higher and there's more incentive. But here's the thing, bro. Like you just mentioned it, 4 black head coaches to start the year, 2 to finish. I think about one right off the top of my head is the coach for the Chargers, Anthony Lynn. The dude had a rookie quarterback this year. They won like 6 or 7 games. That's not great. But bro, let me just say this again in case y'all forgot. I'm a Bengals fan, and my guy Zach, whatever his name is, our head coach, my guy has like 2 wins in 2 years. And like I understand rookie quarterback, last year's first season, I get that. But like I just think that the chain for minority coaches is so much shorter that their lack of success is so much more amplified. And if they don't succeed right away, it's a wrap. They're done.
So my thing with this, I propose that, I mean, this is kind of the way I think about it is like, I mean, if you're in Green Bay, for example, I'm not expecting you to have an all black staff. Like,
right.
It's kind of hard to like, but if you're in like Chicago, LA, pretty much anywhere else in the NFL, like with your population. So I think it should be based off of population of the city that you're in to have like, and it doesn't even got, I mean, to me, like, I think for a lot of African Americans, they're just looking for just a way in, just
right.
a foot in the door. And so like based off the whole organization, percentage of population, like should reflect a percentage in your staff or in the organization.
That's really unique. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in that way, you're not, I don't think you'll be tokenizing people because it reflects what we got going on here. So like, I keep bringing up Green Bay, or Buffalo.
Right.
I don't know if a lot of black folks are around there.
Right.
So if it's like 6%, well, let your organization reflect 6%. Like I think that should be like the bar minimum of a goal, is to try to have their organization reflect that. Now, eventually, the hope is that changes and that gets people into head coaching
and then you can disseminate a rule like that because it's like we have the stat. Like it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like we have to enforce this anymore because
it could be anything. You could be the marketing person. It could be anything. Anything in the organization is kind of like the foot in the door thing. I think the problem is right now they're just not getting the opportunity, is what it seems like. I mean, to have this many coordinators kind of get overlooked is not a good look for the league, especially with the pass that they're going on right now.
Right.
I mean, there's several benefits. Like I work in education, so there's benefits of having someone that looks like you in the same room as you.
Right.
There's just like students at a younger age perform better when they have a teacher that looks like them.
Right.
And it's just so like I think I get that these are grown men, but when stuff happens in the world, and I get that this is a job. I get that you're grown men, but you would like to know that your coach and your organization has your back and they're looking out for your best interests. Unfortunately, right now, it just looks like they're looking out for the monetary interest.
And I understand, like, here's the thing, like, that I want people that are listening to this to understand. We understand that the NFL is a business, but I mean, Devin works in education. That's something that the education system is trying to change from the top down. You know what I'm saying? Is really try to get people in places to help students succeed, right? Because that's their business, right? The NFL, their business, the people that make them the most money are the 22 guys that play, that are on the field at the same time, all the other guys in the locker room and the coaching staff. That's who brings in their money. And if you know anything about business at all, if you know anything about any organization, the most important thing is to make sure that you set your employees up for success, right? That is the best way to get dividends, is if your employees feel empowered, if they feel like they're being led well, then they're going to perform no matter what they're doing. If they're selling Girl Scout cookies or if they're selling, if they're playing professional sports to the highest level, if they're investors, it doesn't matter. If they feel empowered and they're led well, then they're going to perform and make you money.
Yeah. And I mean, And I get the argument of the best person gets the job and whatnot, but I mean, these people are just looking for opportunities.
Right.
You know, we can let the people get in, and then we can work some things
Right.
out right now. But it just doesn't seem like that's happening right now. So.
Right. And I think that's what's so crazy. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe 3 or 4 head coaches have already been hired in this offseason cycle.
Yeah.
They're all white. And we just told you that there's
The one dude is I mean, he's not white. What's his
Selah for
yeah,
is he for the Lions?
the Eagles, I think.
No, the Eagles hired the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator.
Goodness, we need. This is why we need producer Chris to fact
We
check
need
us.
fact checks. We need fact
Producer
checks.
Chris, I need you to fact check.
So Selah went to the Jets. Okay, so let me back myself up. 4 head coaches hired, 3 white, 1 guy that kind of looks white still, but shout out to him. He's the first Muslim head coach in the NFL. That's fantastic. I wish him the best of luck in New York. I hope they
stuff like that. Like, I don't like, to me. I mean, this may sound kind of hypocritical, but it's like at that point, I don't like. It's interesting. He's the first. You know, they're getting a lot of first women and first
right.
refereeing and being assistant coach, but like that's his like we're talking about, that's his religion.
Yes.
So like I think that's different than your ethnicity, and you know, like or your race. And so
Right.
so for me, it's like it's interesting, but I don't think that's it doesn't, to me it's like, you know, we're breaking, what kind of mold are we breaking? Like that could be anybody could change and do that.
Yeah. I agree. And so I think that we're at a really interesting juxtaposition here, right? So when we talk about the NFL and we're talking about the inequality, this is kind of, the NFL's kind of been the center of this inequality discussion. I mean, really for a long time, but specifically since Cap took the knee, I think they've kind of been like the centerpiece of that. And the NFL for a long time has been one of the most popular sports in the world, but especially in the United States, has been a hugely popular sport. And so when we look at the NBA, you know, which is, if you listen to our podcast in the past, like that's kind of mine and Deverin's favorite league. Like, I mean, I feel like I can be, you know, say that, like we really enjoy the NBA a lot. And not that we don't the NFL, it's just kind of not it for us. But, you know, I think about how in the last year or so, really since the COVID happened, and the NBA was the only sport being played for months that was competitive. Obviously, baseball kind of started right after the NBA bubble, or right before, somewhere around the similar time. But baseball still had a 60-game, timeline. Whereas the NBA, they had 10 or 11 really important games to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so last year, when the NBA, the game against the Bucks against the Raptors, I believe.
It was the Magic.
Okay. The day after Jacob Blake happened, or the day the video was released, they decided not to play the game. And I'll be honest with you, that was way more bold, in my opinion, than what Cap did. This was kind of the first time we saw players put their money where their mouth was in regards to the issue of race, in regards to the issue of police brutality. I think more specifically, with the Bucks coming out with the statement like, we're not going to play. And I'll never forget. I mean, we had a podcast shortly after that. And for the first time in my life, I really saw people say, we're not going to do this. And somebody that was kind of
found out how much money they were going to lose if they didn't play this.
But kind of one of the centerpieces of, I really feel like the last 8 to 10 months of this discussion has been Kyrie Irving, who I think 6 months ago said, I'd quit for this cause, speaking about police brutality specifically. And so this year started out really weird, right? The dude Kyrie went incognito.
So, I mean, Kyrie's just an odd dude. I mean, he's a flat earther. He called out LeBron earlier this summer. Like, why do why you do that? Like, to me, I just think that he says it, but do your actions really back up like what you're doing?
Yeah.
And so like, and I mean, yeah, and so a lot of people will say, well, Dev, he's buying all this other stuff and he's doing all these different things for different people, supporting WNBA, the Dakota Pipeline, and all these different things, and that's great. But Kyrie, you can't just go missing for a week, like.
Right.
And I mean, he's a weird dude too. I think he just, to me, he started off just trying to get attention. So it was like the sage around the
Yeah,
stadium.
yeah.
It was super odd stuff. And then he did then he's not talking to media for a while. He just said, I don't care. I don't want to talk to media.
Yeah.
I was listening to an old podcast a couple of years ago where he called himself the Lauryn Hill of basketball, where he's just one day just going to disappear. It's like, dude, it's just odd. It's just really odd stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's a unique
we keep giving this dude attention, like, and then
right.
he comes back and gets 42 dropped on his head. So it's just like,
Yeah.
he's super talented, one of the best ball handlers we've ever seen in the league. But like you were saying, he just disappeared for a week.
Yeah.
He didn't tell anybody what was going. Disappeared. There were pictures of him at his sister's birthday.
You got fined $50K for that.
Yeah, and it was, talk about, is it worth it? And then he's at a city hall meeting while the Nets are playing. His own team is playing.
Right.
So, I mean, we're about to get into this discussion here. I think, like, if you're on a team, my teammates are like my brothers to me. They're like family. And we always say, like, I got my brother's back. I am my brother's keeper here, right? For you just to disappear is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Now I know he said he came back and apologized.
He did take accountability for his actions, or he did take responsibility for his actions, and he understood like that I'm going to be held accountable for them.
But it's just, I mean, him saying, man, it's so hard, it's tough. Kyrie, man, there's millions of other Black people in this country who are going through some tough stuff, who had to watch the Capitol riots or whatever. We had to watch that happen. Look, I know that you're not the exception, that you get to just skip out on work. You know what really could have meant something to people is if he showed up to work. Because that's what every other Black person had to do.
Right.
Like, how COVID's been affecting the Black community? It's devastated this community, right? Yeah. We still have to go to work. All right. Frontline workers, essential workers, whatever, you're there. And you deal with that. I mean, it's part of the plight of being Black in America. You want to show another privilege that you have, is have so much money where you can just disappear for a week and everyone's gonna say it's all good when you buy somebody a house.
$820,000 is how much he forfeited in salary.
To me, like, I mean, there is a mental health aspect to this, and I want to be sensitive to that. But when tough things happen, do you just fold, or can you, like, surround yourself with other people who will support you and push through these things? You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think for me, I definitely want to touch on the mental health point of everything. The way I look at it is, I think over the last few years, we've definitely seen a lot more athletes be outspoken about their mental health. Kevin Love came out and had a piece last year in the Players Tribune about mental health. We've kind of seen it across the landscape of sports. And I will say, I'm really glad, right? I'm glad that people are talking about this, because mental health ravages communities today. And I think that we have to say that, and we have to understand that it's a real problem to kind of push forward with what the solutions are, right? Because I agree. The dude's got to work. I got to work. Last year during COVID, when everything was shut down, I was still working. Now, granted, I'm grateful I was working from home, but I was navigating, and I think other people were navigating just that sense, that feeling that like, yo, I'm at home. Like, how am I actually even having impact?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that a lot of people were struggling with different things. But what you have to learn to do is say, okay, I got to go do my work, right? I got to go do my job so I can provide for my family. And I understand that Kyrie's probably got millions in the bank and he doesn't have to worry about collecting that check. But at the end of the day, it's his job. And the thing that could have been really impactful is if Kyrie says, hey, look, I'm not playing tonight because I really don't feel like I'm in a good headspace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next 3 days, these next 2 days, and I'm going to go spend time with a therapist, with my family. I'm going to recover. I'm dealing with this. Like, I just need to deal with it, right? And I need to learn how to cope with it. Like, let's say he does that. How much better does that look than ghosting the organization that pays you millions of dollars to play basketball? And again, like you said, your teammates that trust you. Last year, like he said, he came out with this comment that he was finally so happy to play with somebody that he could pass the ball to and they could make the shot. If you ain't on the court, you can't even get the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can't do that. And so if I'm that teammate, and also in case you've been living under a rock, if you like sports, like James Harden got traded to the Nets last week. So like they have the potential to be the greatest, like three-headed monster of all time in terms of how well they can score at all three levels. There's never been a combination of three teammates that can score anywhere on the court. And that's not even a question. It's not even close. And so to ghost your team, to just seriously not be there, I think, and I'm hopeful, right? Like, so all that being said, I don't know about you, I'm hopeful, and I can only pray for the dude. I hope one that ultimately he finds the Lord. I mean, that's like the only thing that's going to save the dude, truly. But I'm hopeful that for his own mental capacity, that he is having people in his life, in his corner. He has a board of directors that are saying to him, look, keep playing and let us help you cope with this stuff. Because if he's really going through it, then like cope with it, deal with it. But you can't just leave your life and you can't just stop. Like, that's the worst thing you can do is stop.
So let's get.
Sometimes life knocks you down. Sometimes you get ahead, but the only thing you cannot do is stop.
All right. So on that note, all right, here's a gospel implication for this. All right, is Kyrie Irving? You just said he got fined $825,000, right?
So he lost out on $820,000 in salary, and he was fined $50,000 for not wearing a mask.
So combined $875 is what this dude lost. All right. I mean, this dude is getting paid tons of money that most of the people listening to this podcast will never even see in their life, right? He's in Brooklyn. He's playing with probably one of the best scorers, if not the best scorer of all time. He's got
one of the best scorers of all time, bro.
All time, playing on his team. Got a chance to he's won an NBA championship, and he's not happy. And that's the thing that I want people to realize.
Yep.
This guy has everything and he's not happy. It's in Ecclesiastes, they say, a vanity of vanities.
Yep.
Right. It's here today, gone tomorrow. That this dude thinks that his money, his championships, his lifestyle, partying,
his political activism, even
all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing when we talk about politics. I mean, we can come up with earthly solutions, but ultimately we know that's just a band-aid on the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have eternal problems that we need to feel.
Right.
So here's the thing. This guy has all this money, all these things. He thinks that's going to make himself happy. He's not happy. And he doesn't know what to do. So he just stops. He just stops. So what does the gospel, what does the Bible say about this? So David in Psalm 42, he was going through tough times. He was depressed. And what did he have to do? He had to preach the gospel back to himself. Yeah. He said, "Hope in the Lord is what I gain."
Right.
So he kept preaching to himself, hope in God, trust in God, trust in God. I mean, this dude, he was going through it like a deer pants for water. My soul thirsts for
Thirst for
you.
you, yeah.
He's talking about the gospel. He's talking about God here. And so when the psalmist in Psalm 55 and then in Matthew, Jesus says, cast your burdens on the Lord. All right. When you try to cast your eternal burdens on yourself, it's never going to work.
Right.
We can't do that. Like, the wages of sin is death. We can't pay that wage. Christ can. Christ can. And that's what we got to do. We got to put your hope in Christ. So, like, I mean, kind of like to wrap up this whole segment here is like, this is a guy who has, like, I mean, I keep repeating it, but he has everything.
Earthly.
He's living a hooper's dream. He's the best ball handler maybe of all time.
Right.
Okay. He's what you create on 2K when you make the video game.
Right.
And he still ain't happy.
Yep.
So what you think, a person out there who's just like rise and grind every day, you think that stuff's gonna make you happy? Well, this dude's got 10 times more than you ever see.
Right.
Still not happy. There's only one thing that's gonna make him happy. Until then, the rest of the world, we're just gonna see him he's gonna be temporary happiness. This
vanity of vanities.
The vanity of vanities, like smoke. It looks real happy one day, and it's just gone like a mist. And then it's going to be right back in the cycle over and over. He put the sage everywhere. All right, that did nothing to him. It did nothing for him. So my prayer is for Kanye. I said Kanye, for
him too.
Maybe. My prayer is for Kyrie to find the Lord. It's to trust in the Lord, and it is, and for all the people around him, because it doesn't matter what this guy, no matter the activism, how many points he scores, all this different stuff. It doesn't matter unless he has an eternal perspective on the issue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I mean that's a way that we have to understand the gospel. Is that like. Yeah, we can sit here and say like he's done good things, he's done good moral things. Like he doesn't know the creator of the universe, right? And that at the end of the day will ultimately, like that's the hole that you're trying to fill. He's trying to fill it with money, ball, whatever else you can name. Even the good things that you try to fill that hole with, it will never, ever, ever suffice, ever.
Yep.
And that's what we have to realize. And that's what is so important for us as believers, to not put these folks on a pedestal of these good things, right? And good things are good, right? Like there are people that are sinful people that don't know Jesus that do good things. And we can, thank them for that. And we can hope for that to be the case. But at the end of the day, like they're not doing the greatest thing that they could do for themselves and for the kingdom of God, and that's to know Jesus and know him as your Lord and Savior. And so all the good things that people do and all the things that people accumulate and receive, it pales in comparison. And that's what you have to realize. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing that we can pray for these athletes to have a platform to to know Jesus.
Yep. Amen, brother.
Yeah, I think that's a really good note to end on. But, I want to say that these topics, these things, specifically regarding, the NFL and the NBA, like all these things, there's a connection in the culture, right? There's a connection in theology and from a biblical worldview that we can take a step back and see. And I'm really grateful that we get the opportunity to do that on this podcast, and grateful for your perspective, bro.
Yeah, brother. And now we got another episode coming up for you. Wait, this was the bonus episode, so you're supposed to listen to this one afterwards.
You know what? You can listen
to whatever order you listening to it in. All right, it don't matter. Just listen to it.
That's right. And
if you made it this far, we appreciate you.
Big facts. We appreciate you. Super excited. Tune in. Listen to this podcast. Like, rate, comment, subscribe, share, all the whole 9 yards. We appreciate you. And be on the lookout, daveanddev.com. we got more merch on the way. And this merch is not just for me and Devin. We always say that this money doesn't line our pockets anyway, but this one especially doesn't. This is a really special cause. So stay tuned for our other episode. Follow us on social media. Like I said, subscribe on YouTube. We're about to turn up.
All right, Dave.
Hey, until 30 minutes from now when we record this next episode.
Until next time.
Peace.